What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Danny the Bull with my boy Ron. What's going on, brother?
What's up?
How we doing, man? It's been fucking volatile.
To say the least, man. That was especially yesterday. That was just the craziest price action.
It's been absolutely nuts, like a completely bipolar market where it was doom and gloom, heading into the weekend. We were so back on Sunday, God candles everywhere, euphoria coming back to the timeline just to get slapped back down. And now we're coming back. We're back again almost, kind of, sort of. So absolutely crazy, volatile, market. I think we had a good talk last week. I want to, continue where we left off, and try to navigate this very turbulent time in the market together and with everyone here. So let's see who we got in the chat before we kick off. We got Base Lab in the house. What's good, brother? Chuck to a buck. Let's go. Dino Dragon, are we back? We'll see. Russ in the house. What's going on, brother? Big news for Metacade.
Definitely big news for Medicaid.
100%. Great news for Medicaid. We'll touch on that later. Rivian in the house. We back? Possibly, maybe, exactly. I'll star this, and we'll come back to this, Rivian, what narratives will play out. Yeah, we're going to talk about all this stuff. We got a lot of people here already, about 20 people. So let's, I guess, get into it. Dino Dragon says, how do I get in the Telegram group? Dino, you can hit me up on, hit me or Ron up. You can DM me on X or TG. And we'll get you into give you information about getting into the Telegram group. But let's, I guess, talk about price action. Ron, what are you seeing? Last time we left off, it was, there were a lot of people were bearish, questioning, is this the end? Bitcoin was, had broken, support, headed down into a lower range. So let's talk about what you're seeing on chart.
Yeah, and like you were mentioning, excuse me, like at the beginning of the stream, how, Sunday, everyone's so bullish, like we're back, just let that remind you like how quick things can change. Sentiment changes in this space. It changes super quick. Like when you think, like, how could Bitcoin ever go back to $110,000, or how could it ever go down to 50,000? Things can change quick. But that was really crazy price action that we saw the other day. So for me, I go off the weekly chart. I let the weekly chart guide me when it comes to Bitcoin. I think I don't think there's like a magical time frame to look at. I mean, generally speaking, the bigger the time frame, the better the confirmation. But I think different assets have different people in them, different traders, different ways of looking at the market. In Bitcoin, I feel like the monthly chart actually gives you a lot of false signals. But I've just come to think that the weekly is the best chart to go off of. And then the daily, I refer to that as like the smaller time frame. And I tell people sometimes if the action is strong enough on the daily, then you can make your decisions off that, but know that you're making it at more of a risk than waiting for the weekly close. And, this candle right here, I mean, it's really unbelievable how we pumped up Sunday back into the range. So for me, and you can draw these things a little bit different ways, but I would say the range is like here, something like that. I'd actually put this down a little bit, like 106K, because 106 I think is like where the real resistance is. But yeah, so my
89 to 106.
Yeah, something like that. And I think closing over 90 or 91 is really better if you can get back into these candle bodies and not down here in the wicks, but at least you're not closing under the wicks. And I'll be honest, like, I'm not a perma bull. I will try to look at the chart and I will try to be honest and keep it real. I'm not out here to sell hopium. It doesn't benefit anybody. And when this candle was down here like this, look, if we would have closed here, that would have been bad. That would have been real bad. Bull market over bad? I don't know. I mean, maybe. It's not. If anything, it would have put the party on hold for a while, and then like how much time if this cycle plays out normally, like how much time do we got to get up to $200,000+ or whatever. So this was really bad. That's why that move Sunday was so important. It was just like unbelievable. It's almost like a full court shot to win the game is how I felt. Like getting back to closing the range. I thought, no way. I was like, best we could do is maybe get above the candle's midpoint. That's like halfway through the candle. A lot of traders look at it like the wick is more than half the candle. Then that's, somewhat bullish or at least not too bad. So I was hoping to at least get above the candle's midpoint and maybe close above the 200-day moving average. That's what this green moving average is. So to pump like that on Sunday and get back up into the range is really remarkable. And yes, it was the pump was retraced 100% the next day or within 24 hours or whatever. But in my opinion, going off the weekly, and I know I'm not the only person. A lot of big Bitcoin traders, this is the main chart they look at as the weekly. It's better that it pumped on Sunday and closed up in the range than, and dumped the next day. At least it painted the weekly chart like that. Even somebody on Twitter was like, that's just news, bro. Like, this is my first time I'm doing this. When you look back, okay, this wick right here, do you remember what caused this, Danny?
When
this wick right here in August, do you remember what caused this?
Nah.
No, you don't remember like the news or whatever. That's why, I try not to make the news influence my decisions too much. You just, people go back and look at the chart and how the chart looked. It didn't really matter what caused those conditions to paint the candle that way, that the candle closed in the range. People who go off the same philosophy that I do, and it's not like I invented it, I learned from other people. That's how they look at it. Ivan on text said the same thing Monday. He was like, unbelievable to close back in the range like that with a long wick, like a huge fake out. Now, the fact that it's, retraced the next day is puzzling. After a strong move up like that, you wouldn't expect to immediately go down. Matter of fact, somebody on Twitter even said, because it been a lot of talk about CME gaps lately with it going down and hitting that one. And so people, know a little bit more about it now. Like, well, this is going to create a big CME gap. I'm like, absolutely. Somebody asked me on Twitter, you think it would get filled tomorrow? I was like, well, probably not tomorrow, but, good chance at some point, maybe it goes down there. But there you go, the next day to go down and fill the whole gap. So it's crazy price action. There's all kinds of people watching Wintermute and Binance and some of these other exchanges and how they're sending Bitcoin or all crypto and suppressing price. There's nothing we can do about that. This is the space we're in. It's there's pros and cons to being unregulated. This is one of the cons. Who's to stop Binance from doing whatever they want to do? And I don't know why they do that. I maybe it's just to make more money, or it's to build more assets to sell higher. I don't know, but it's what they do. Now, there's some good things. This trend line, it's not the strongest trend line, but it's got some touches. So maybe Bitcoin can go and touch this trend line, and that might give us a bounce, some support off that. But look, we're almost already back in the range for the weekly. And just yesterday, bear with me 1 second, on Twitter, I can't help it. I call X Twitter still.
Yeah, I think a lot of us do.
But yeah, I was like, what if it, if this candle could end up looking something like this for the week and still close back in the range, and you just have two long wicks, two like fake outs. And I call that like a wicky double bottom, like when there's long wicks and it's a double bottom like that. And from my experience, that's good when you get the wicky double bottom. And where I drew that line, where price was at the time, that's pretty close to where price ended up going to. So it might actually close like I drew on that chart. Let me see again. Where did I draw it at? It was probably a little about 80,000, just above 80,000. Where price was at 86.5 at the time, and the wick went down to 81.8. So So that could be good. And if these dumps happen, you want them to happen earlier in the week, so you have time to catch up. I also had said on the post, we got all week to get back up in the range, because once again, that's why I started off saying I'm going off the weekly chart. I'm not, a day like yesterday, I don't like it, but I'm also not freaking out. Think if I would have freaked out during all this with this wick down here, and panics. Yeah. And then, people follow me, they listen to what I say and stuff like that. I'm not just messing myself up. I'm messing other people up, So that's my strategy. That's my game plan. I go off the weekly chart to make my decisions. And it looks like we could definitely get back up in here for the week and close. And then I do think it would look bullish. Now, on the event that we close, say it doesn't go back up and say it closes down here, like low on the candle, that's not good. That's bad. And my issue when price was down here, while I was worried, it wasn't because of the price. It wasn't because of the percent of the pullback. That has nothing to do with it. I've been in space a long time. It's not like I'm, not used to pullbacks. It's because we've been in this range since, say, mid-November. Then on within the range, we had a real tight trade. Like when you see this, like these little bars like that, one after the other, that means a breakout is impending. I mean, odds are. And to have, this was 2 weeks of these tiny daily candles. And this was when the Bybit hack happened with these green candles. It looked like we might be going up on good price action here. A good wick, consecutive bear bars, decent bodies, not much wicks, not much overlap. And this one was closing above all these bodies. It looked like we, hey, we might be going up. But then the Bybit hack happened. This was a bearish candle, and it didn't take long. It also was a symmetrical triangle in here, and I've posted that before. And the measured move off the measured move off the symmetrical triangle pointed almost exactly to that CME gap. So when you get confluence like that, that's not good. Well, bearish confluence. So I knew that was a possibility going into the high 70s for sure. And that's what when I saw this candle break out on the daily, that's kind of what I was putting out and saying in Telegram. And that's probably the worst case, because like I said, it's not where price was, it's how it got there. So we were ranging since mid-November, and then in a tight trading range for 2 weeks on the daily. So when it finally breaks out, it can be, like very violent. It could be a very breakout, upside or downside. And the fact it was breaking to the downside, like I said, that's not good. So we hit the CME gap. I mean, some people say we didn't close it. To me, it's close enough. I mean, it hit within the middle of the CME gap. Wicked up. We wanted to see a strong reaction, because the thing is, when you hit somewhere like this, when you go up this fast through the 80s right here, the same thing happened in the 50s last market. You build no market structure. There's no price history here. So as fast as it can go up, it can go down just as fast. And I've said that several times too, up or down. Same thing. So we benefited from that here. But I knew that CME gap was important because it was the only thing that could really catch us. I didn't think the 200-day moving average was enough to stop these strong candles, this strong move down. So I wanted to see an aggressive move off that CME gap. And it was pretty good. This is a long wick on the daily. Like locally on smaller time frames, I would like to have seen it be more aggressive, but this was good. And then, you got a bull bar after that. That was good, looking like we may find a bottom, even build some price history up in the 80s so that maybe it's not so easy to cut through. And then this was the the Sunday and everything that happened with that. And that was really remarkable. Now, say if we would have had a decent candle, maybe closed here right below the range, I would have said, the wick would have been pretty long. I probably would have said I think we're still okay. It's close enough to being in the range with long enough wick. But I'm telling you, if we would have closed down here, it would not have been good. And like I said, it's not because of where the price was or the percent. It's because of the market structure that had formed up here. And when it breaks out, it can be a very strong breakout in the direction that it breaks out. But
so what do you think if we get a close down there, in the next week or two, if we see continued weakness? Listen, you got NASDAQ was down again. S&P was down again. I think NASDAQ is now down 8% on the year. S&P down 5% of the year. The S&P has given back all its post-election gains.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a macro thing. It's not a crypto thing. It's not like, the crypto market or whatever. It's a whole macro thing. It's obviously being caused by the trade wars the fear in the market from the tariffs and the uncertainty. And so, what do you think if, we end up closing down there next week?
Yeah. So if we close probably even like more than halfway down on the candle, like here or something, it's not good. It's not as bad if this one had to close. So you've built up some history here with this and a line of support that people will buy when it gets here. Is that going to be strong enough to hold it? I don't know. I think that if you go here, you might want to wait just a little bit and give it a few days or maybe even one more week and see if maybe this trend line can support it or whatever. But I think decent probability that we would go touch like the tops of this down here, 70K, something like that, test the top of this zone here. And that's not anything unheard of, testing the top of the previous zone that it broke out of. But, it's also time. Then it's going to take us time to go down there. Say we bounce off of it, get some support, then it's time. Then we've built up history around here between 90 to 100. Now we got to try to break through that. It definitely affects the bull market, I think, and our projections and our expectations of the bull market. I continue to say this at 70 to 65 is such a strong level for Bitcoin. There's been so much price history and volume there that it's not that we can't go below that. Anything is possible. This market, anything can happen for sure. But, I'm speaking in terms of probabilities and what's most probable. And it's going to take a lot to push through this level. Now, if this was the end of the bull market and we're just getting red candles and it's tapping the zone, then sure, it can break through there. But one thing I do agree with, something that a lot of bears have been saying, is we never even had a bull market. But they're saying like, LOL, bro, what bull market? Like, we didn't even have a bull market. I do agree with that. That we never even got into a bull market phase if this was the top. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, for Bitcoin, it's still a bull market, I think, for Bitcoin. For all coins, I don't think so. But it would be a weak bull market on Bitcoin.
Like to this point?
Yeah. What is that, like a 40% gain off of previous high?
More than that, I think. Well, from the all-time high.
All-time high.
I would say it's been an uptrend, but not like what we consider a bull market.
It's not like there has been no euphoria phase.
No.
Yeah. I think we go higher long term. I think we could come back down. I think as long as the uncertainty is there, I think you're going to see more chop, more volatility. It's interesting because we're getting all this bullish news and the market wants to pump. People want it to pump, right? You had the altcoin news. Cardano went up they had like a god candle. What was ADA up? Like 80% yesterday or something, right? You got the crypto summit coming on Friday. Everyone is ready for this market to run. There's so much money on the sidelines. On the hint of a reversal, I saw some of my alts, I'm holding HAD, it's a small cap, went up 100% yesterday. Rio went up like 60%. So you're seeing on signs of reversal a lot of, money come back in to flood back in, and then pulls back. The macro isn't ready yet. I wouldn't be shocked to see if Bitcoin did what the S&P did and gave up all its post-election gains, came in back to reset. And then maybe we get more certainty around, what's going on. Maybe, Trump cools off a little on the tariffs. Maybe, he's forcing the Fed's hand and trying to push them to lower rate cuts and do all that sort of thing. And it just needs more time to play out. But it's interesting, 2018, the trade war happened and tariffs, and the S&P corrected 20%. He crashed the market then. Right now, the S&P is down 5%.
Yeah, he knows, he's not oblivious to these things. He's been in this business a long time, if not politics, but markets and business and all these things. He knows what's going to happen. And me and you talked about this before. I'm not a global trade expert, but
yeah,
some people know more than me. Say if the tariff thing works out, that it's great for everything, but it can be painful until then, and there's no guarantee that it'll work out. So
Yeah, I mean, he even said early on, he said there's going to be short-term pain for long-term gain. So, he definitely anticipated this. I think that personally, I think he's intentionally trying to rattle the markets, to bring asset values down, in order to force the Fed's hand. Because, they're going to be cornered for a tough decision. But we're going to see how it plays out March 19th.
And I've said this because I've like, I've said a bunch of times, like, just because he said whatever in December, like he can change his tune at any time, just because he had said whatever, he can say whatever he wants next meeting. And I said, I would not, like, if they announce like a rate cut that's not priced in, like it's going to pump big time.
Yeah. Even the pause of, QT, which they said is going to happen by mid-year. So there's this meeting in March and then one in May. And this is the crazy thing, is that this is the most volatile asset class, right? Crypto is by nature, altcoin specifically, Bitcoin even, is highly volatile. Now you take the most volatile president, right, and throw him in the mix, and it's like hyper volatility. If he would turn around tomorrow and said, I've struck a deal with, Mexico and Canada, you'd see God candles.
Probably. I mean, you see the market pump. I think it pumped based off some news in Ukraine. I think that.
Yeah.
I hadn't got a chance to really look into it, but I think that's what made the market go up. But yeah, and there's some other things. So this is something that I do sometimes because I do try to stay objective, but I probably have a little bit of a bullish bias when it comes to Bitcoin, especially because I believe in Bitcoin a lot. I know a lot about money and fiat money and all these kinds of things. And so I have a really good understanding of like Bitcoin or whatever. But point is, invert the chart and ask myself, like, does this look bullish or bearish?
Yeah.
And that's why I have to kind of check myself like this, because this isn't like, it could be somewhat of a, double bottom.
Yeah.
Coming up, see, this is where this candle was at its high or here. You see what I'm seeing? It does look like a breakout in the other direction, potentially. I mean, you got a trend line as resistance. You got this level here, but think if you wanted it to go up and you're looking at this chart here, it doesn't look like it's impossible for this thing to go up, which is actually would be it going down, So that is a good trick to do sometimes, to kind of check yourself to make sure you're not having confirmation bias. Look at it if you favor bullish. You want to be a switch hitter. You want to be able to say, it goes up or down. I can read it either way. But most people do have a bias to one side or the other, and mine's probably a little bit towards the bullish side. So, and something that I've talked about in streams a few times. So this move here from like breaking out of this level here, like 25, 30K or whatever, up to here in this long ranging period, I said, was that a bear market rally and basically this move here? Okay, so this move started, we say the move started on this candle or this can say mid-February of 19, it started. And the run up to the bull market, say that kind of started on that candle. So you're looking at October of 2020. But so that was February when I said February of 19. All right. Yeah. So when we started this move, it was like October of 19. And this was a stronger move here when you look at this. So I mean, you could even say, maybe you could even count it as like this candle when it really started. That wasn't until April. But it's kind of in the vicinity. I mean, it's the same year, off by 4 to 6 months, depending on how you look at it, for when those moves started. But also the run up to the bear market was in October of 2020. So then this was October of 2023. What's that?
The run up into the bull market, you mean?
Yeah, like to start the actual like run up in the bull market for last market cycle. So the point I'm getting at is this was like exactly 3 years apart from each other from the run up to the bull market. From the bear market rally, it was like 3.5 years. So it kind of falls somewhere in between the two, if you want to call it, kind of look at it that way. So I think it's important. Was this the bear market rally, or was this the run up into the bull market? And that it started early because of the ETFs and people trying to front run the halving. And that was the run up to the bull market. If that's the case, then I think that you can kind of make the case that we started the market cycle early. And when did the market cycles have ended? They've ended at the end of the year, November, December. You know what I'm saying? Like of that year, of the following year. So, and this is kind of scary, but like if that was the run up into the bull market in October 2023, well, this was a year later.
Yeah, it's usually about 12 months after the high.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was a year later. So that would coincide with the top of the market if that was the breakout into the bull market. Now, if this was the bear market rally, which is what I'm more in the camp of thinking, this is more like a bear market rally. Like I said, it's not going to be the exact same thing as you saw last time. These things rhyme. Not the exact time. It came later. You had this long ranging period. I just don't think if we were like full on bull market that we'd have that 7-month ranging period.
Yeah.
But
see, that to me was the cycle reverting back to its norm.
Yeah. That and I'm not trying to make it fit the previous cycles exactly. I'm just looking at previous cycles to kind of see what they did or whatever. But if this was the bear market rally and then this long ranging period, then this in November, this is pretty much in line with the bear market kicking off 4 years, almost 4 years, a month off here in October, a couple weeks off actually. So I think it makes more sense that this was the breakout start into the bull market. And if that's the case, we haven't even really got started yet. And this was just the first initial move up, breaking this strong level of price history. I've talked about plenty of times. This wasn't like the previous cycle at 20K. This was a serious level, and it took a lot for it to break through. So broke through over 100K. That's a round number that people have been waiting for a lot of years. Obviously, it's no surprise we get a lot of resistance there. So if this was just the kind of the appetizer of just breaking out of the bull market, then we'd be like here, somewhere probably maybe say like here, so in time wise or something. But I feel that like we've just barely kind of got this first leg up out of it. I would actually say it's kind of like here. Maybe not, it doesn't match the same time wise, but you got one leg out of it and you're getting some ranging and resistance and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I would err to the side of. I mean, obviously I'm not married to any price target or anything like that. I just said if Bitcoin would have closed this candle down here to the bottom, that would have been really bad. I think definitely coming back to 70K, and it could have been the bull market over. I mean, like I said, it's not the percent of the pullback, it's not the price, it's how it happened. And that's how I look at things.
The interesting thing though is that we looked at on last stream at last cycle, and there was a similar breakdown that looked even more bearish on chart, and it still wasn't the end of the cycle. So you could have a major correction mid bull cycle that doesn't look good, but also doesn't mark the end.
Yeah, 2017 especially was bad.
They had a 70. I think there was like a 70% dump, wasn't there? Right? It was like a huge dump.
Yeah, in 2013, I think it was like 84% dump. But I mean, market cap was real low back then, so it's super volatile.
I mean, even looking at again to speak to the fact that this isn't a crypto thing. Tesla's down 40%, I think, since December. Palantir is down about 33%. Some of the big caps. Amazon's down a bunch. It's a macro thing. So to me, it's like the question is the macro run over? And I think we're more correlated right now than possibly we've been.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday was a really bad day in the stock market. You saw that extrapolate to Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin can go up when the stock market's going down. We've seen it plenty of times, but generally speaking, on a daily basis, it's normally correlated more or less to the stock market. Also, the dollar
is down today.
It's looking pretty bad, actually.
Good. No, I mean, isn't it down to 105? Good.
Bad in a good way.
Bad meaning good, right? Yeah.
Bad in a good way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Missed
Yeah.
the weekly, you know, it's just, and now this bar, I mean, we still got the week, you know, the rest of the week to go, but this is Forex. So it closes on Friday, not Sunday. But if it closes down here, getting into these bodies of this candle, that's great. You know, we want to see that.
Yeah, that's good news. The dollar's weakening.
Yeah,
which
definitely.
was expected.
Yeah, and we've talked about that. And I'll look at BTC dominance here in a little bit too. But check out some indicators on the weekly and see what they look like. You know, I'm not an indicator person, but I know how to use them, and I refer to them sometimes. And you know, some people like them. You know, RSI. This is one thing I noticed, that because some people trade off the RSI, they really do, and you can see this level of 45 on the RSI, the weekly RSI. It's like a level of support. I mean, I think you can see that for sure. So maybe when it comes down here and touches 45 on the RSI, that we might see a bounce. You know, a lot of people think RSI divergences are like, you know, there's a divergence, so you shorted it long. You know, the divergences normally do play out, but they can take a long time. Like it can be a divergence and keep going in that direction. Like you could have a divergence here and then price still keep going up, and eventually it does go down. And you see, you know, the RSI divergence played out. It will eventually. But so RSI doesn't look too bad. We're right above 50. That's kind of what in bull market, you definitely want to stay above 50, but it's okay if we come down here and tap 45 and get some support off that. I don't think anything's wrong with that. The MACD is another popular one that geniuses like to look at. So you're getting a bearish crossover on the weekly in the MACD, and the moving average is sloping down. That is bearish by the book for MACD, but you also got that here. You know, and price ranged for a while and then went back up. So just because these, if it was this easy that you just go off MACD crossovers, then we'd all just do that and be wealthy. Yeah. The last one I look at that I like, the Ichimoku cloud, doesn't really tell us much. Just all things are bullish on the Ichimoku cloud. So that one looks good. So, you know, those are what some of the main indicators that people look at. Some of the key EMAs I keep right here on the chart. The 200-day moving average, we're above that. The 50-day, we're below that, but we've been, you know, rejected off it a few times. So every time we hit it, it takes out orders, and it makes it the next time, theoretically anyway, like it makes it weaker every time it gets hit. We're below the 20-week, which some people think is an important one for the weekly, kind of says if we're in the bull market or not. But, you know, we're right there at it. We can get back up there and back in the range before the end of the week. So there's a few indicators, you know, to go along with what we're looking at with the price action.
Yeah. What about ETH, man? ETH has been pile of dog shit.
I got BT. Let me look at BT dominance, and I'll go to that.
Yeah.
ETH, man. So I thought it was likely that this was the high of the market cycle for BTC dominance, assuming that, you know, we get the bull market like we've been hoping for. And like I said, I agree with people. If we're going down, that we never had a bull market. But if that's the case, the 4-year cycle was completely invalidated, and you don't need to have the mindset, well, we need to wait another 4 years. It's either altcoins are like totally different now, and the 4-year cycle is invalidated, and Bitcoin is just part of the greater macro picture. But we'll see. I think that the cycle has started to deviate some, but I don't think that, you know, it's enough to call it that we're not going to see the cycle again. So this is looking pretty bearish, which is good. You know, long wick on this one. We talked about it plenty of times. This was a bearish candle too. Then last week, another bad candle for BTC dominance, long wick up, red. You know, you're getting you know, green so far this week, but if things go our way the rest of the week, price closes back in the range, I think that this could definitely leave another wick. You know, and that's 3 wicks with higher lows. Like I say all the time, it's not a tradable asset, but if it was, it would be looking not very good. So, Yeah, which is good for us. You know, if you go look at previous bull markets, BTC going up, dominance going down. That's what normally sparks the mania phase. So that's a big one to look for. Freaking ETH, man.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, they said that the 1.2 billion that was laundered through Bybit or from Bybit or hacked was laundered and sold.
But they converted it to Bitcoin and sold it.
Yeah.
So if Bybit had to buy back the 1 point whatever billion of ETH, and the hackers didn't dump ETH because they converted it to Bitcoin, well, this thing should have been great for ETH.
But if they're converting it to Bitcoin, they're dumping it, no?
I guess it's like selling it for Bitcoin. Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess, but I don't know why they do that then. I don't know. I'm not sure because I know on Runes you can just like the Thor chain, you can just send ETH and they send you Bitcoin. I'm not 100% sure how that works,
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
but it broke this trend line, you know, that had been you know, a long term since the low of the bear cycle before the FTX crashed. I mean, you got a lot of support ETH here at this price, and this was, I mean, the weekly when we closed up there, it was looking pretty good. You know, 2 long wicks up. Yes, it closed below the trend line, but with a long wick and up there that close to it, you could expect that, like, hey, we can get back up here and be okay. Now this freaking candle, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know, as long as Bitcoin goes up, I mean, you know, everything else should. Well, here's the way I look at it: as long as Bitcoin keeps going up, everything else still has a chance to have its alt season, massive gains,
Yeah.
whatever. It's not a guarantee. We're not guaranteed that that's going to happen. We don't know that we're going to get massive alt season gains and everything like that. You know, some of these points that we all know about, the token dilution, the Jeet culture that's been created through the meme coins, and people getting burned. I think some of the newer projects, like maybe compared to last market cycle, the tokenomics are don't benefit the like the market, like it benefits the founders and the people that made it more so. There's a few other things, but you know, the kind of the fact that most people in the space know that altcoins are basically, you know, just glorified meme coins. All those things, more traders in the space now, maybe all these things could add up, and maybe collectively, you know, that we won't get the alt season that we have gotten in the past. You know,
I mean, you always have to think about the alternative scenario. You can't be married to, you have to understand the risk, right? And what could blindside. You have to be aware of like your blind spots. So it's important to understand all that. Do you see, I don't know, Benjamin Cohen talking about how last cycle ETH bottomed when they ended QT, and that's when it took off. And his theory now is that it's going to bleed some more, and then possibly, at the end of QT, take off and hit new all-time highs.
yeah, and obviously we talk M2 money supply a bit because everyone's an expert at M2 money supply now.
Yeah.
And there's this, you know, kind of theory that it's offset by either 40 or 70 days, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
That both of them kind of rhyme. So that would be, if it was the 70 days, it's like April, early to mid-April is when we could potentially see the boost from M2 money supply. I don't know. I mean, I think, so I obviously think it helps. I mean, there's a correlation there, but I did this on a stream that I did, you know, all these macro things that people are just like the be all end all now. You can look at plenty of times when either they were going up and Bitcoin was going down, or Bitcoin was going up and they were going down. So if the cycle top, like some people say, was beginning of 2024, for one, it was before the halving. So it's kind of like not even like the cycle, but M2 money supply was going down and alts got really good gains.
Well, that wouldn't be the cycle top. That would be the start of Bitcoin's parabolic run, right? Which ended at 106, if that's the theory.
Well, Yeah, but I guess for alt season and stuff like that,
Yeah,
people say
that's when we had our little. That's when we had our
people
little.
say it's the top of the alt market,
Okay,
alt
yeah,
season
yeah.
or whatever. M2 money supply has basically lived its existence in an uptrend, and it was going down at that time, and alts were getting great gains. I mean, some things 100x.
Yeah, I know it was. I mean, that wasn't even a real full-fledged alt season. And you know, it was almost, you know, it was kind of euphoric, right? You had AI tech, you know, all the ones that we follow, whatever. A lot of them did put in big gains. Playable games did 100x, went from like a sub 1 million to it hit almost $100 million market cap.
Palm AI did 100x.
Yeah. And even like you knew it was, you know, you were you know, in this midst of this little alt season, because then even like the shit coins, people were looking for any gaming coin at that time, any gaming coin. I remember finding Vemp at like under $1 million market cap, and it went to a $10 million market cap in a very short time. Epico, you know, all these super micro caps people were looking for because everything had already run. And that's what typically happens in a true alt season is you know, you get a hot narrative, a hot sector, everything runs, and then people look for what hasn't run. And that's when you get that everything running type of alt season that people, you know, that's happened in the past. We had a glimpse of that, like you said, in 2024. We've been waiting for it since, and it hasn't yet happened. And I think, you know, last time we talked about the frustration. I think that a lot of the frustration that people feel is because they put a timeline on it, myself included, right? Thought, all right, you know, typically, historically, come January, February, now you should start seeing that alt season kick in, because that's what's happened in the past. And this time it's, you know, a bit delayed, or, you know, worst case scenario, maybe it doesn't happen. I think it does happen. I think it's delayed. But
yeah, I can see like there's a case for both sides, but I think a lot too much is getting made out of some of these macro things, and then this is BTC dominance as well. This was during that period we're referencing right here. BTC dominance was sideways to up, so it's not even going down, no downtrend, anything like that.
What was it at percentage wise?
Around 53%, but the total crypto market cap was less.
Yeah.
During this run up too. But this is just one of those things where BTC dominance going up, so alts can't. You know, it's got to hit 70%. Like some of these things you hear. So it's just I point some of these things out because during this time when alts plenty were doing 100x's and just printing great gains, we didn't have all these macro things come together in this perfect alignment that the stars had to be a certain way for altcoin season to happen. Yeah. Now, the G culture that's kind of been created in crypto, I do think it's a problem. With so many people have gotten burned, and then with some of the things with like the Trump coin and some of these other coins, I don't know exactly. I mean, if there's really like some bad actors, like a cabal kind of behind a lot of these coins, then the theory of like, okay, well, the money that the Trump coin sucked out of the market, the liquidity it sucked out, it didn't get sucked out of the market because it just got put in the Trump coin, and then people will, you know, move it and reallocate to something else. But there really is like these people taking like $100 million out of this thing. You know, well, they're probably just cashing out the 100 million, and they're not going to look to degen altcoins with that 100 million. So I think some of these malicious or nefarious altcoin or meme coin launches, they could have hurt some things with the market. But I think what it's done the worst is fried people's brain and hurt a lot of people, and they've been burned on so many new meme coins, that rug and whatever.
And that's not to mention like Pump Fund, sucking money out of the market also, right? And them taking extracting soul. I think that there are, you get two different types. You got people who like only focus on utility coins and are sitting and waiting and not touching that stuff. And then you got like the people who are into that degen. Do you think that there are more people who are now degenning?
Well, this kind of goes into my greater theory. If we got like the blow off top and the gains that we want to get and everything like that, then we need the market to grow. We need new people. We need retail to come in the space. But that's factored in. Like when you say the crypto market cap, total market cap, is going to hit 10 trillion or whatever we say.
Yeah,
that is not factored in. People don't project that saying, it'll be off the current people in the space. You know what I'm saying? Like like other people have to come in if we get those gains.
Yes.
And in pump fund, I think it's mostly people in the space. Some people that may be bored, they just want the action, trying to, they see this person made $1 million off a meme coin and just trying to hit the home run. So I think it's kind of a niche within the space of people that were already in the space. And maybe it got some normies in, but for the most part with pump fund, I think it was people that are already in the space.
The thing with the meme coin thing also is that it still only makes up like something like 10% of the total market cap of the
4%
space.
is what I saw the other day.
Now, yeah, I think at its height it might have been 10%.
Yeah, maybe.
Now it's plummeted. Right. Yeah, but even at its height, 10%. That's not, there's plenty of money spread out in other places. It just dominates the narrative when you see these coins, doing, pumping and dumping or whatever, and that's the narrative at the time.
Yeah, definitely fried a lot of people's brains on how they look at things now, and they much likely to cheat out earlier, and that can make things hard for pumps to materialize. Some of these things, we were in a full-blown bull market. The news of like dropping the lawsuit against Kraken or consensus and stuff like those things cause pumps. It's not doing anything. So yeah. I think either we haven't gotten the bull market hasn't materialized and we still just haven't got to that point yet, or this time is different. But if it is different, then throw the 4-year cycle out the window. You're just going to have to get that out of your head. And it doesn't mean that you're going to bag hold your alts to zero. It means that Bitcoin's going to probably be part of the greater macro. And when it pumps, alts will still probably pump. And then as time goes on, alts will probably fade more and more until eventually, they will eventually probably go to zero. But I really don't think that it's like, okay, the 4-year cycle is invalidated. That's it. Your alts are all going to zero now, and you're all screwed. So keep that in mind. If the 4-year cycle does get invalidated, well, then it's invalidated on the bear side too.
Yeah, and that means you could go longer. That means you could see a pump coming into 2026.
No, I think I've said that. I think that a lot of highs, assuming we get the bull market that we want to get, will be in early 2026. I mean, and that even last time we had alts making highs in 2022 in January. Yeah. So I think that's totally and when you look at project out with M2 and some of these other things, interest rates, I think it's totally feasible. But if it is different, at least keep in mind that you don't have to be like panics. I mean, you sell whatever. I'm not telling you not to sell, but you don't maybe have to panic sell everything and say, oh, the bull market is over. If that's what the case is and we're not going up anymore and it's stalled and we're going to go down, the 4-year cycle is invalidated. And Bitcoin is just going to be part of whatever it's in a discovery cycle, if you want to call it. I don't know really the right terminology, but the 4-year cycle will be invalidated. So I think that Bitcoin will most likely be just kind of absorbed into the macro, and that altcoins will still probably loosely follow Bitcoin, and that you're going to want to scale out of them on pumps as things go over the next year or two, that eventually most altcoins probably won't make it.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to watch to play out. I think this month is going to be big, March, because of the whole overhang of I want to see what happens when we get past this tariff stuff. And then I think we get some more clarity on, where we go and what's going on.
Man, I see a lot of Metacaders in the comments, man. People love Metacade.
Yeah. We're going to talk about Metacade. Yegs is asking about your take on Devi. Any thoughts on that?
So I think Devi's okay. I don't have it. I did have it. There was a few things with Devi that I didn't like. All the private and pre-sales they had. They had a lot going all the way back to 2017. So I didn't like the tokenomics on it. Then it was the fastest blockchain. They use sharding, which is it's not, to say you're the fastest blockchain, but you sharding, it's not really the same. But they are backed by a really good company. I knew that from the start. In Switzerland, I think it is, by like real world business people. And yeah, I hope it does good. I don't have it, but I don't wish bad on it. If I'd been paying attention better when it started to break out from its lows, I probably would have gotten back in. So I think layer ones have not done good this cycle, to say the least. Devi is one of the exceptions. I
But
think
the
it
thing
has
about Debbie is that it's an RWA play, right? So they are, they're launching an exchange for tokenized real world assets. So I think that's why they've outperformed, traditional layer ones.
Well, I mean, Mint Layer's got that, and they're part of Bitcoin ecosystem, and they've just been steadily going down too.
Yeah, I think the difference is that Devi has executed on, like the exchanges going live. They've got a partner with potentially or supposedly a huge TradFi name.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. I think that's one of the reasons why it
Yeah,
has pumped like it has. Yeah.
yeah.
Because Tet, they're I saw a post yesterday. They're talking about their RWA this or that or something, and I'm scaling out of Tet now. But I'm looking at things that, like, when I bought it are also down quite a bit. So if I would have bought those, I'd be like Spec AI or something like that. A couple gaming coins. I'm slowly reallocating out of Tet.
I did. Now is a good time to reallocate. A lot of people get burnt when they reallocate because they're doing it when their bag is down, but other things are up, right? And so, you sell what you're already down on, you put it into something that's pumped, like for instance, an AI agent, and then that sector cools off dramatically, and then your money gets chopped, and it's like a chop, and you get chopped down throughout the market. Now is a good time to look at things that are down and move from one thing to another. So I did sell out some of my games for a living. I sold, and I put that into Devi, and added to my Devi bag. And then I've been adding to my Rio bag also. That's one that's beaten down to 20 cents RWA play, which someone asked earlier about sectors that are going to run. And we'll get into some of the questions. I know there were some more things in there. Here's Rivian asked the narratives that'll play out when the market pumps. It's impossible to tell what order because who knows, right? So, who knows what order? Something takes off, and then before you know it, things are taken off. But in my mind, the narratives that are going to play out haven't changed. It's AI is still going to be a top one. RWA, I think, is going to be big. And I've talked about that a lot, as have you. I still think gaming has a run, but I like those two most, and then I like gaming.
Yep, that's I think as well. I think those would be the top three, and then I think layer ones, maybe they'll come back. I think it's not the worst idea to maybe throw some money in some of the larger some things like Sui or Chainlink, some things with the higher cap that can still 10x or something like that if we have a decent bull market. Layer ones, hopefully they come back, and maybe that's a sign that just like how many layer one blockchain ecosystems do we need?
Yeah, it needs to have a compelling narrative for me to that's why I liked TET
and Mint Layer. I like both of them. Fundamentally, I like both of them.
Yeah. So, and I think that they can still have a run. And so there's that. Metacade, huge. Metacade just continues to impress with their constantly building and morphing and evolving. If when we started talking about Metacade back last year, it was hard to pin down exactly what they are. Like, they're a gaming hub, right? But they didn't have their tournaments live yet. It was hard to really pin down what they were. And now, they're just growing. Now they have an L3 there. They were tapped by Coinbase, one of 5 or 6 projects for their new app. I forget what it's called, app chain on Base. So they're going to have their own layer 3. And, you're going to use Metacade to potentially launch other projects that are going to be paired with it. And I haven't heard all the details. That's my assumption. I know Russ has done a couple of AMAs, but I didn't catch him yet. But it's going to add utility for MK token and make it deflationary and burn it even more. And just the partnership with Coinbase alone, I think, is hugely bullish for Mcade. And they are one gaming project that has shown strength while others have been like dumping.
It's big time. I mean, it's held up better than probably anything else I have. Look, this is from early February, 3 green candles when things have been straight dumping. I mean, this was last week. This is a weekly candle. This Bitcoin last week was maybe ending the bull market. And look at this Metacade candle. It's a huge bullish outside bar. I will debate anybody who says another gaming project is a better investment than Metacade when it comes to Web3 gaming right now. Because I don't see how you can really make the case of another project over Metacade, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, from everything, they check all the boxes from tokenomics to team and transparency, and how Russ is always communicating clearly, to then actionables and like deliverables, doing what they say they were going to do, but then doing more, right? Because no one expected a partnership with Coinbase. And then, people had talked to me about, they asked me about projections and all this stuff, right? We love to make projections. How high could something go? And I put out like ranges of possibilities, right? No one knows where anything's going. But people are like, but when it gets on Coinbase, and I always say, don't make an assumption that it's getting on Coinbase. I would not make any assumption.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're talking about a partnership with Coinbase, and Coinbase responded to them.
I know.
So
under it, I know.
So that's like, all right, now, I if you had asked me like last month, will they get listed on Coinbase? I'd say that's a real stretch. Now, I think I don't know that it's probable, but it's definitely more possible than it was.
I mean, let's talk about some things with Metacade. The layer 3, like you just said, the tokenomics are superior to all these other gaming projects. All these other gaming projects, they dilute tokens like crazy. Metacade's deflationary. They're going to be burning them. And everything's, I'm quite sure about this, that everything's circulating supply for this cycle.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
They're, like you said, the team is always doing something. They go to all the events. They were in ETH Denver. They were in, Singapore.
Korea.
Yeah. They Germany. Go to all the events.
Yeah.
They're making connections. They're in the know with everything. They're giving out real gaming rewards. Last week, $10,000 or something like that.
Yeah, they did 50,000 last year. And they did in this Gangs of Metacadia. When it started, it was 10,000. The prices went down, but there were $10,000 in rewards, on-chain rewards to start with.
Yeah, I mean, so
partnership with Super, which is Elio Trade's project. Now bringing on what's it called? The what's the new game from Gunzilla?
I don't know.
That the one that it's an on-chain game. It's big. They just put that in there. And the Jamie, what's his name? Jamie King?
Yep.
Yeah, the advisor, the co-founder of Rockstar Games. Super bullish. Only a $30 million market cap still. If my Naka wasn't, like if I got a big Naka pump, I'd probably sell my Naka into Metacade. Probably,
yeah. And like I feel like I'm forgetting things. Like I can't make this many points about another gaming project. And it's held up like as well as pretty much anything that I hold has. Also, they got an army of people on social media as ambassadors for them, always posting. And if you post about Metacade, you'll get engagement. People will comment and like and share and all those things. So there's just so many things to like about the project that I don't see how you can make a case for another gaming project over Metacade right now. I couldn't talk about another gaming project for this long, and I think I'm forgetting stuff.
Yeah, no, 100%. Super bullish on them. I'm also super bullish on Devi. Those are my two biggest holdings now.
So announcement is coming out for Metacade tomorrow, I think.
Oh, another one?
Yes. I mean, it's not like anything like groundbreaking, like they're getting listed on Coin. Another good thing about them, they're widely listed, but they're not on any like of the top exchanges. So they're widely listed, but they could still get like the pumps from being on Coinbase or Binance or whatever. Like that's still on the table. But yeah, they're gonna have an announcement coming out tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, we gotta get Russ, talk to Russ again on a stream one day. Let's see what else we got here. My bags of Metacade and Devi are bigger now, though. Oh, he's still all right. Someone asked about Omi.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just rough. What's it? I think it's actually held. It's at the low.
Yeah, I
And
mean, but it's like, relatively speaking, given how bearish the market's been. I mean, it's the weekly chart. Bitcoin's had a bad candle, real bad candle last week. That's not the worst given the market situation. It's holding this level here. Double bottoming here. Hopefully, it'll hold that and go up. And I don't mind talking about OMI, but so to this level here from current price, because you're going to get, so I mean, that's a good gain, 89%. That's a pretty good gain because you're going to face steep resistance here. Support turns into resistance. And this was strong support for a long time for OMI. You're going to get mega resistance here. You're going to get mega resistance here. And you're going to get mega resistance here if you can make it this far. And this is where a lot of people buy 002. That's not getting into these 008 or the all-time high or anything like that. But this OMI candle is something that this is what happens in a bull market. A gain in 1 week on projects of like 1,000%, like a 10x in 1 week. Like that's the kind of stuff that happens in the bull market. But OMI, I don't know. Dino, if you heard me talk about it before when I said like it's not that I think OMI is terrible because David you sucks or because the team did this or because they promised that and it didn't happen. When I assess projects, first of all, I look at how old they are, their price history, and the narrative that they're in. So OMI is not AI, it's not gaming, it's not RWA. If they just had a game, then I might could get with it, or at least take a look at it. But it's old, it's older too, so that's a strike against it. And then it doesn't fall into a major narrative. If I had to call it anything, I'd call it like an NFT coin, I guess. And I don't want any NFT coins. I mean, it's not that like I don't like OMI in that regard. I don't want Chili's, I don't want Ape, I don't want any of that shit. So
this is the thing. Like, people tend to marry their bags, right? And they only look at why we, the bull narrative and why we love it, why everyone will love it. Approach it like how people approach looking at projects and how you would approach looking for a new project, right? You'd look at, the first thing I look at is sector and, what is in a hot sector, because that's how this space runs, right? It runs by sector. It runs on speculation. And then you look at typically new projects do the best. And older projects have bag holders, right? That have now accumulated over a long period of time, and they got to sell. So it's just the dynamics of how the space works.
And maybe as far as diversifying things by narrative and thinking like the things in the first market cycle get the best gain. Well, that's what we've seen in the past. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe that won't be that way this time. But I have a system of going about things. And I'm not just a doe out here in the woods, not knowing what to do. I always know what to do or an idea of what's going on. But when it comes to OMI, one thing I'll say, this is a really good sign right here. Now, when it comes to volume in crypto, you got to be kind of careful because the volume is only on the exchange of the chart you're looking at. And I look at the Gate.io chart on OMI, is the one I have on my watch list. So you could have, a big volume on one exchange and like the volume data on another exchange is totally different. So it tells you something, it indicates something totally different. So you have to be a little careful with volume in crypto. But this, it's relative. So you go back in time, and we're going back a long time here, all the way in like last bull market. Look at these volume bars. This is Gate.io. Look at this volume right here. That is huge. So, and what this means when you get small bars like these with big volume, all right, so volume is orders taking place, buys and sells. So when you get a big bar like this and the candle, there's no candle hardly. That means a whole lot of buy and sell orders took place, but it didn't move the price. And that's what you see at the bottom of a downtrend. Like I said, you got to be, take it with a grain of salt for the exchange. Look at the OKX chart and some other exchanges and see how the volume was there. But if you get huge volume, small candle at the end of a downtrend or in an area of support, that's a great sign. That is great because it's showing that like basically people are selling the bottom and smart money is buying it out of their hands.
Yeah.
Is what that indicates.
Yeah,
So
I hope it does well. You know, the issue is like when you see like those big pumps that it gets every now and then that immediately sell off. And so you
yes,
want to
because
see
people
it.
want out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, people they're waiting for that pump. A lot of people are waiting for that pump.
Yeah, a lot of people do want out of it because they are, like I said, these things about they didn't do this, they promised that. Like that's not even why I don't hold it, but that means something to a lot of other people. And then a lot of people, because the disappointment within this project, it's not even the project's fault as much. It's the people's expectations of like because of everything had gone for it. You know, all these IPs and the VV verse and you know all these things that we thought, well, this thing's going to be massive. You know, and it just didn't pan out like that. I mean, not at this point. And I think now, even if you have these bullish things fundamentally, you kind of missed the window of like last cycle when NFTs were so hot. And now you got all these strong levels of resistance above you. I mean, I don't think even the most bullish people think that OMI is going to go to $1 anymore, which last cycle, I even thought it was a possibility down the road.
Yeah. Let's get to some of these comments. I think 2017 bull run was later in the year also. We're all good just waiting on DJT shakeup to stabilize and retail gets paid. We can dump on them. Yeah.
That's the plan.
Yeah, good.
The 2017, he's right. It is kind of a little bit now. The Bitcoin run up that was pretty stable, but when alts moved, it's really kind of all over the place. I heard somebody say that they say the alt season really didn't happen until late in the year. I think it was like Litecoin that mooned earlier in the year. You look at, and I did this on either my stream or I streamed with you where I brought up the Wayback Machine and brought up CoinGecko from back then and looked at some of the top 10 coins from back then and when they went up in 2017, and it's not uniform.
I mean, I did look at I looked into some of the top coins. There was movement into May, but you know they topped. The big move happened end of the year, but there was a nice move into right around I think March, April, May, where some putting a bunch putting 10x, 5x, 8x, etc. Sold off, and then the fireworks happened at the end of the year.
Yeah, and we look at all three cycles, the 13, 17, 21, they were all the end of the year. So I would expect, if we were looking for the true top of the cycle that, it would be at the end of the year, maybe in the beginning of 2022. I think it's just frustrating because, a lot of these alts are at, bear market lows and people want them to be up higher now, but sentiment changed fast in the space. We saw that on Sunday. It can change real fast. And I just showed that OMI candle at 10x in 1 month. Now, OMI didn't just come out then. OMI had been out a little while, and that's when they got listed on Uniswap, I think it was, when that candle happened. But
then there was the whole thing with I think some of it was trapped in the app, and then Logan Paul. There was a thing with Logan Paul pumping it.
Yeah, let's look. And this is a big winner from last cycle, Gala. Yeah, it's a good exchange to look at it on. I don't want to look at it on Binance. I want the chart to go back. Qcoin, I bet that's a good one. That probably goes back as relatively far. Let's go back to last market cycle. Yeah, look at these freaking bars so this was September.
Yeah.
I mean, started running up. So from August is where the chart starts to that top 8,600% gain. And let's see, that was in November 21, but this was only in a few months' time. This didn't take long for it to do that.
It happens fast. People don't realize how fast it happens. It's a matter of 8 to 12 weeks. Usually you get those biggest gains.
Yep. So I do think, I want to see the market start moving up and alts especially. My friend in real life, Eric, me and him were talking about it, what we thought about Altseason, and he thinks that it will still have one, but he thinks it won't be like 2021. That's his take. Like he thinks that it will still have alt gains, but it won't be like 2021.
Yeah, I can see that. We'll have to wait for it to play out, and I do think we'll get an alt run. Maybe it's not as outsized, but you can still get good gains. And
Yeah.
the thing is also, you don't need, if you're diversified in a a dozen or so projects, if one of them has outsized gains, you should be good.
Yeah, and that's diversify, but don't over diversify. If you're diversified, make sure of these things like where you're keeping it. Save the addresses on where you want. Well, okay, where do you want to sell it? Are you going to sell it on DEX? Are you going to sell it on exchange? If so, if you're going to sell on exchange, have the address already saved in there. So if I just I can sell it easy, I can manage, make it as easy as possible on you to be able to manage these things. Keep a notebook, use DBank or one of these other sites that you can keep track of your stuff better if it's spread out all over the place. So, because you want to be wallet security too. I tell people I don't think you should keep a huge hoard in any one wallet. Spread them out in different wallets, different devices, all those kinds of things.
Yeah, and have backups for your seed phrases and all that in different locations, man. You see what happens in the wildfires out in California. I know people who had their seed phrases lost and their devices burnt.
Yeah, I heard about that. They make this little plate that's fireproof. I seen Wendy O had promoted it a while back, like before the fires. But that's what it's for. It's for because it's fireproof, and you etch the phrase in there.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And some other things you can do, like if you write your seed phrase somewhere in your house and you keep them in there or whatever. Like if it's 12 words, make it like 24 words, but then have certain lines that are the only ones that are relevant. So tell yourself 2, 4, 8 or something like that. And only those lines are your seed phrase and the rest of it are just random words and no one would ever be able to figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. Frank's asking if you're still in LBM.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. LBM and Viz. They went down, but they're small cap. So if they were held 2 million for a long time and then started going under 100 million and down 60%, something like that. That's small cap like that. I know that's part of it. But I still think RWA is big. They're active. They're doing things. They did something with Spain. I can't remember exactly recently. But Ondo is a safer bet. Rio is a safer bet. Some of these other projects like that are safer bets. It's a lower cap, but it just depends on your risk tolerance and things like that. But I haven't seen anything. Me and Danny actually were in. It might have been through Frank actually.
Yeah, Frank's
team to maybe do a stream with him. Yeah. So you talked to the team, Frank. They're real people. They're trying to do a successful project.
Yeah, it's the market. A lot of small caps, like you said, are beaten down more. Rio's been hammered. It's down to 25 cents. It went down to 21 cents. I added, I'm not throwing a ton of money at things, but when Rio's at 20 cents, I get a little greedy, and I did add. I think I had a nice bag of Rio. I added I almost doubled it.
I think Ondo is taking a lot of sucking the liquidity out of the RWA space a lot. People are putting money in Ondo.
But I expect that to change. Once you get full on, you see these things move quick. When we had on Sunday, when the God candle came, Rio bounced quickly up to 36, 37 cents, right? So it went from 21 cents quickly to 37 cents. You're seeing nearly 100% moves. So that's been my strat. I don't have much money left, but whatever, and I'm not anything I need, I'm not touching, right? But if I have expendable cash or whatever, and Rio is 21 cents or something's beaten down, when I saw Devi 60 cents again, that's when I'll jump and add.
So I'm not buying anything else.
Yeah.
And Rio, I got a lot of that already. So that's one reason, even at low prices, because I feel like if Rio does well, which I don't see why I wouldn't hit $1 billion market cap if everything goes like it should. But I think it's kind of better to, if you already have big bags of something, move on and build another bag of something. If Rio does good, I'm gonna make a lot or whatever. Because that was one thing I bought as true bottom during the bear market. But that's why I haven't bought more of that. That's the only reason why. But I'm not buying anything else. I'm not. I put that in Telegram. like a week ago, and I'm not gonna buy anything else. I mean, I got big bags of stuff, it's fine. Like, but if it doesn't materialize, if that is the case, I'm not gonna keep dumping money. And that's not a statement like somebody say, oh no, he said he wasn't buying anything. He didn't make, I'm not gonna continue to buy at this point. I've been
Yeah,
buying.
your bags are full. I mean, your bags are loaded.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I mean, so am mine, but I get
it's tough not to buy. I know.
It's tough not to buy when I see the price at 20. I say like I'm done, whatever. My bags are whatever happens, happens. And I'm fine with that. Even if I didn't add anything, I'm fine with whatever happens. But then I see like that price 20 cents. I'm like, damn, I gotta buy some more.
Yeah, because I got some disposable money recently. I mean, disposable, like what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I decided not to spend it, drop it on a bunch of altcoins or whatever.
Yeah, and that's good too. And that's good also to protect, people have a hard time dealing with volatility. You can just make up your mind like, this is it, man. I made my bed, and now whatever happens, happens, and we let it ride out. But I will say, if this doesn't play out for whatever reason, it's the biggest mindfuck of all time, because no one, everyone's calling for an alt season. Every big account is calling for, recovery. Even I don't think that there's any account that I follow. I know you posted one guy who is bearish, but
he says 100% there'll never be another alt season again.
Yeah, that guy's full of shit. Who is that?
His name's Brandon something. He's got a
like that guy.
He's got a paid Discord that's $400 a month.
They need to stop paying, because what are they paying for if he says there's not going to be an alt season?
Oh no, he says he shorted the market at the Trump inauguration, or he made a bunch off Trump coin too. Oh, he's got some claims or whatever. He says Solana is definitely done, and the exit all Solana stuff. He says he's shorting Solana to zero. So
nice, yeah. These people are bugging. I think we'll be all right. Dino's asking what's going on with Astra. I haven't really followed them too closely. I actually sold my Astra into something else. I still like Astra. I think it's a solid AI. It was holding up really well relative to other things. It's now down to about $8 million market cap. I think it's at 80 cents. But, they've done a lot of partnerships. They have the one thing about Astra that's, I think it's hard for people to pin down what are they and like what exactly do they do. They have an Astra bank, and they're doing stuff in like the fintech sector. They have an ambassador program. I know I know that they've secured $20 million, and they're doing quarterly buybacks, which should help the chart. So I still like Astra as a project.
Listen on some exchanges.
Yeah, they're on MEXC.
Post things on Twitter. Yeah, I think, like you said, it is one of my, I guess, bigger holds, but it's just because I bought it so cheap. So it's not something that I've continued to really add to as it went up. I actually, like a few weeks ago, maybe a week, I don't know, it wasn't too long ago. It was one of the first times I bought it in a very long time, and I bought a little bit of it. It was like, yeah, there's AI, might as well add to it. But yeah, I think it's okay. I mean, but what you did as well, diversifying into something else, I don't think that's the worst thing either, because we bought it low, and that's one reason I'm fine. I'm totally fine holding Astra. My first buy on Astra was 300K market cap, so I'm totally fine holding that. I didn't buy it all at that market cap. Bought most of it probably around 2 to 3 million. So it's still up pretty good from that.
Yeah, even at this low, I know. I don't expect crypto news in the State of the Union, just because every time he's addressing like the whole audience, he it's not top. I mean, for us, it's like the only thing we want to hear him talk about.
I don't care about crypto.
Yeah.
It would do more harm than good.
Yeah, you think his Sunday thing, who drops news on a Sunday? You think they were trying to prop it up for the weekly close?
I hope so. What's wrong with that?
It's kind of bullish, right? Because then it shows you, like, here you got the president of the United States. Look, man, I know that there are, until we get it, we don't know that we didn't get it, and there's always a bear scenario to play out. I'm still very bullish on a long term this year. It would be the most ironic twist of fate to get this administration in. The treasurer is pro crypto, the SEC is dropping all the cases, pro crypto, everyone is pro crypto, and then that's the 1 year, that's the one cycle. You know what I'm saying? The first cycle.
True, but I've thought about this a bit, and like Biden administration I had like basically all out war on crypto. But even with that, Bitcoin, since the beginning of 2023 has been steady, up only mostly,
Yeah.
I mean not up only, but it's
No,
been
I mean, long term, the trend has been up and to the right with periods of bearish activity.
yeah, they the bearish news it causes like short-term daily dumps type thing, but the overall trend was staying up. So I say that because maybe we're overstating how much that's going to matter. I think if it's a bull market, if it's a full-on bull market like we've seen before, and there's euphoria and mania and stuff like that, then I think it should count for a lot, because any little good news pump on a Tuesday afternoon will just send things crazy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think it can be good, but just keep it in mind, like crypto, even though Biden was kind of at war with it, the administration anyway, crypto is still doing fairly well. So maybe we're overstating how important that is. Not that it doesn't matter, but maybe we're just overstating it a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it can perform well in spite of.
Yeah, I'm just saying, keep it in mind is to stay objective. Don't be like, oh, well, there's no way that we won't have $200,000 Bitcoin in Altseason because of Trump's cabinet,
Yeah. Oh, this is what Josh. Yeah, Clubcade. Yeah, I saw that this was coming tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought I didn't know they announced it yet.
Yeah, so then put it out. What's up, Mohammed?
Mohammed, Rug Doctor. Well, you my favorite guy, Mohammed.
Yeah. Smash the like button, everybody. Make sure you subscribe. Yeah, Off the Grid. That's the game I was thinking about, Russ. Thanks.
Metacade always doing something.
Final settlement of court case. Probably more LP soon available. Not sure what that would do to the coin, though. Yeah, I mean, it's been rough for them. We'll see what happens. But
yeah, one thing about IP and crypto, I mean, we haven't really seen that correlate to big gains. Not really. I mean, with the VV run, I guess you could say you did, but then there's other projects that have IPs and stuff like that, and
they haven't done well.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of what I'm getting at. So I don't know that there's a big correlation with IP and crypto just yet. I mean, maybe they'll be the first. I don't know.
Yeah, and the thing is, you're seeing the thing about the space is that the digital collectible space is getting smaller. You're seeing, HRO and all these other companies close down, and that's not what you want to see for when you talk about sectors that are going to run hot. AI, you're seeing more and more AI projects populate, right? You're seeing an oversaturation of gaming projects saturate. For this digital collectibles, you're seeing the opposite happen, a contraction. So
why don't just come out with a game, a simple game?
Yeah, I mean, if I was in charge there, I would partner with 10 gaming projects.
I mean, I thought Epico, like there was a lot of evidence coming out. They're gonna.
It's in Epico.
Yeah, they were supposed to come out with that game, and we thought we were going to use the Mighties in it and stuff like that, and never happened.
Yeah, I think that was just speculation. I think the people ran with. But we're going pushing on an hour and a half. I got to run upstairs. I want to thank Ron for coming through. Always a good time, good conversation. We're at an interesting time in the week. What are you looking for? Heading into the middle of the week here. What do you want?
We want that the price to come up. We want that wick to get higher. We want to get back in this range. And I've been messing around with charts a lot lately. I'm like, well, maybe it's forming a broad bear channel, something like this, that. And I just, it doesn't seem, so I think that we want to get back up in the range. Doesn't have to happen all at one time. We can even have red days. A little rangy leg up to close back up in here around 90 would be great. The summit is Friday. I don't know. They could announce some things to make price pump, or it could be a sell the news event. I don't know. If speculated they're going to announce 0% capital gains taxes on probably American-made cryptos, I would imagine that would pump. And I think it's good that it's on Friday, because then whatever happens, say they put something out Friday afternoon, the ETFs, it's not like they have the next day to sell the news or take profits on a pump or something like that. So I think that's good that it's on a Friday, that hopefully whatever happens, it will go through the weekend and not dump at least.
Yeah. So I think the main thing for everyone is just touch grass. And if this stuff is frustrating for you, understand that it's frustrating for everybody right now, even the most seasoned people in the game. And yeah, I'm much happier when the market's pumping. But
yep.
Thanks again. Thanks to everyone coming through. We'll catch you guys in the next one.